If you do go out and socialize and someone did something you trigger back to that moment when somebody else hurted you. And so you relive that all again. But what happens now that you add another person to your collection of unforgiveness, and it also increase your bitterness. It's kind of like it gives you the receipt for you to continue to be bitter. Because because everybody like that, oh, he did the same thing, she did the same thing, and that's not necessarily the case. Baby, you go home and put yourself in timeout. If you're not having a good day, don't you go mess up somebody else's day. All right, you guys, welcome back to the Kitchen Table Podcast. And this week, we are going to focus on bitterness. We're going to unpack it. We want to understand and overcome resentment. So in this episode, we're going to tackle that topic and what it is and how it starts and how it can creep up into our lives. And most importantly, how we can heal and move forward. Think of this as a candid conversation over where we get real about the emotional baggage that can weigh us down and how to let it go. And when we talk about bitterness and emotional baggage, let me paint a picture in your mind. It's like having a bag of bricks when you are bitter. And when you carrying that load, you can't move, or you move very, very little movement at all, meaning that you're not getting any progress. Now, why did I pick this topic? I picked this topic because I have encountered a lot of family members and friends who are bitter and they have no clue. They have no clue. And it really hurts my heart. Now, am I saying that I've never been bitter? No, I'm going to share my story too. I was bitter for like 4 years. I didn't even realize that it was bitterness till once again when I went back to school and I focused on mental health and what that looked like. So we're going to get started. Why does bitterness matter? Bitterness can poison our relationship, mental health, and overall outlook on life if left unaddressed. So it often is a silent struggle. So anybody know anything about blood pressure, high blood pressure? And so because I've had experience with high blood pressure, it's a silent killer. You don't have no big like any big thing that sets out and tell you that your pressure is high or that you have difficulties with that. Probably the most noticeable thing may be a lot of swelling in your feet area, or your chest may hurt or head may hurt. But we prop up our feet or whatever to get the swelling down, or take some over-the-counter medicine to make the headaches go away or the chest pains go away. So if you don't have any education on high blood pressure, then you don't know that those are the symptoms that you experience. So a lot of times people will have high blood pressure, and because they don't know and they're not taking care of it and they're not going to the doctor for whatever reason, they find out when they have a stroke. And sometimes, depending on how bad it is, they can come back from the stroke. I've known some people who came back real good from a stroke. I've known some people who did not come back from a stroke. They literally died, or their quality of life was bad. They had to go into a nursing care center. And so that's kind of what bitterness is. So it is often a silent struggle. Many people don't realize how much bitterness they carry until it starts affecting their happiness and connection with others. So what is bitterness? Bitterness is a persistent feelings of anger, resentment, or disappointment towards someone or something, often because of perceived wrongdoing or unmet expectations. it can feel like it can feel like you just simmering in anger or a deep rooted grudge that influence how we think, we speak, and act. Emotional profile. So the key emotions are hurt, betrayal, jealousy, resentment, and sometimes self righteous anger, often accompanied by negative inner dialogue. I'll never forgive them. Why me? We the victim now. Oh, that keeps the hurt alive. So one of the things that I've learned is that in when we the last podcast we talked about trauma, generational traumas, and how to break it. But we talked about how generational trauma start. And so when I look back at my ancestors and we go back to slavery and we go back to Jim Crow, yeah, we were done horrible. And so the anger behind that being done wrong carried over into the lives of our ancestors. So a lot of times when you encountered them, they were not always happy. Their angry level was very, very extensive. It was a lot of pouting, a lot of crying, and being defensive. So we see that a lot. How bitterness starts, unresolved hurt or betrayal. So when we don't address a painful situation properly, be it from a relationship, workplace conflict, or family issue, the unhealed wound can fasten into bitterness. So let me give y'all an example. I'm going to share my story. Probably back in 2001. Yeah, 2001. Me and my ex-husband was in the DFW area going through some things, and we had 4 kids. My youngest child was about 5 months, and I had a bonus son, and then my other son and daughter. And so during this time, after being evicted for 105th time, okay, yeah, we was king and queens of eviction. That's a whole nother story. It was, we was going to a church that was taking advantage of us. But after being evicted, and I was just like, I can't take this no more. So we sent my older 2 kids to Oklahoma to stay with my mom until school was out at the beginning of 2001. And the plan was that we had the younger 2 kids, and, we was going to do what we do, to get our money together and once again start all over. Well, that didn't work out well. And so I ended up coming to Oklahoma with the other children, and the plan changed, and I was just going to work a couple of jobs here, stack my money. He doing what he doing there. He was selling cars, I think, at that time, and stack his money. And then we were going to come together at the end of the year. So I'm at my mom's house, and I'm staying there with her and our 4 kids. And my mama did not like how I parent my kids. And in her mind, it was her house. Even though I was grown, I got to go by her rules. And she wanted me to, parent my kids the way that she felt need to. And me being me, that just didn't happen. Okay. But anyway, I was probably there for 2 weeks, y'all, if even that. I just remember Mother's Day 2001. Everything escalated. I remember telling my oldest son, hey, take a bath. And what I do is if you take a bath, you clean the tub out and get the bath water for the next child. My mama did not like that. And all week, it's just been festering and festering. And me, I didn't say anything. I'm just like, I'm counting down. Like, I don't think I'm going to be able to be here till school is out, trying to figure out what I'm going to move because the attention in the house. Well, it explode Mother's Day 2001 when I made my oldest child clean out the tub after he took a bath and got the bath water ready, for the next child. So I'm telling him to do this, and my mom is telling him no, he didn't have to, and this and that. Like, oh, okay, we doing this. So my thing is, well, we just gonna resolve this. We all going to bed dirty. Everybody go to bed, and we'll figure this out in the morning because my TV show was getting ready to come on to practice, and I didn't want to miss it. So I'm like, okay, well, we'll just do this in the morning. My mama comes in the bathroom. I have my 5-month there, and he's sitting in the car seat outside of the bathroom. And she verbally and physically attacked me. So this is your mom, and you're not supposed to put your hands on her, right? But now my kids is hollering and screaming, and you're not going to do this. So I picked up an Ajax bottle and politely hit her across the head with it and dumped the Ajax all in her head. Okay, so that's what happened. So she telling me I'm going to jail, but no, she physically attacked me, and I had scratches on my face and was bleeding. And she was like, oh, you going to jail tonight? So I ain't going nowhere. And she grabbed that phone, and I took it and pulled it out the wall. And so she went next door to the neighbors. Anyway, long story short, all of my family that was there, siblings or whatever, they all came over, and they all hollering or whatever. By this time, everybody at the house, and I didn't let nobody in the house. And I'm sitting up there singing, God, what am I going to do? And my kids are crying. And I let my brother-in-law in the house. He was the nicest one. He said, what do you need me to do? Well, we know I'm not staying there. So they packed my stuff up in my brother's truck and took me over to my sister's house. And I just remember going to the park that night at midnight. And I'm just sitting there in the park trying to figure out what the heck I'm getting ready to do now, because now I'm mad. But my mama narrative that she gave, it was not the full truth. She did not give that full truth. She told them what she wanted them. And so now everybody is like thinking that I jumped on my mama when I didn't. And it was that night when I became bitter. For 4 years, I didn't talk to her. I didn't talk to nobody from my family. I didn't talk to nobody for 4 years. All I did was went to work and came home. And I took care of my kids. And I just checked out. I was mad and angry at everyone. I was mad and angry at God, because some of that had some stuff to do with the church that I was going to at that time too, and some of the things that the pastors had done too. So now I'm mad and angry, and I'm not talking to nobody. And during this time of isolation, I'm the victim, and I dealt with suicidal. I had a couple of suicidal attempts. My ex-husband had to wrestle a knife and some pills out of my hand. And it was just like I did not want to live, because it's like, out of everything my mom did, you did this. And on top of that, they called DHS on me. And it wasn't nothing that DHS could do, because my kids was not in harm's way. But I just disconnected for 4 years. I didn't go to church. I was mad at God. And it was like, yeah, I didn't participate in life at all. And that would be the one time that I was thankful for my ex-husband being there for our kids. Because I checked all the way out. I wasn't even a wife. It was, real bad. So for 4 years, I let all that fester up in me. And it was literally killing me. And I just remember one day looking in the mirror and saying, either this gonna kill you or you gonna kill it, or you gonna stay here and die. And that's when I got enough strength, and I packed up one suitcase and left my ex-husband and put all my kids' stuff in one suitcase and went to a shelter. And that will be the start in the journey of my healing. And I will be forever more thankful to the Methodist Church. Ever more thankful for them. They had a transitional program that helped me. And if it wasn't for that program that was required for me to go and get therapy, I don't think I'll be sitting here to this day. And I'm just sharing that to let you guys know what bitterness does. It can literally kill you. even to the point where it did impact my parenting skills, with an incident that I had with my oldest child that was not good at all. And how just how I felt about me and the world. It was like me against the world. Just felt like I was just in a war, just always fighting because everybody was against me. I mean, I raised hell at work. I know they was sick of me. Part of the reason why I even kept jobs because I was dependable. I knew my job. I did it well. But yeah. And so that's what bitterness does. It isolates you. When you're isolated, you run into the situations of everybody that did you wrong, everything that they have, you running it over and over in your mind. And the more that you run it over and over in your mind, the more angry you get, the more bitter you become, and the more isolated that you are. You don't trust nobody. You don't trust nobody around your kids. You just don't trust nobody. But it also have you feeling so bad that you in the bed. And there was times that I had a hard time getting out the bed every day. And so you just there and everybody's like living life and you just there stuck. So that's what bitterness kind of looks like. And that's how it started. So having repeated disappointments, life letdowns, failed goals, unmet expectation, betrayal by family accumulating over time, or friends. If we don't process these disappointments, they can pile up and turn into chronic resentment. So resenting people, resenting everybody. You just mad and angry at the world, and everybody is your enemy. Nobody has your best interests. A sense of injustice, feeling wrong or treated unfairly can easily lead to bitterness, especially if there is no apology or closure. This is common when people experience systematic injustice or personal betrayal where accountability never happens, unmet needs, or lack of communication. So sometimes bitterness arises from needs that were never clearly expressed. One person expects something from a relationship and doesn't receive it. It leads to anger and resentment. Okay, married couples and couples that are not married. We have these unspoken expectations of our spouse. And when they do not deliver, now we feeling some type of way and they thinking, okay, why are you feeling salty? We got some tension going up in here. And they're not a mind reader. And I have to say this, y'all, even when you do have these expectations and you verbalize them to the person, whether it's your kids, your spouse, your friend, or, your coworker, we got to give people grace because sometimes these people can't meet these expectations. And does that mean that they are a bad person? No. That means that y'all need to come and have a meeting and see and talk about what they can meet. Like, I can't do this, but this is what I can do. And you're going to have to be okay with that. Signs that you may be growing bitter. Negative thought pattern. Negative thinking about you, negative thinking about every situation, negative thinking about the world. Have you ever met somebody and all they knew was critical? There's a thing between critical thinking and negative thinking. And critical thinking is something to help you improve. But negative thinking, you're not seeing good in nobody. So you're around these people all the time. Oh, they don't have nothing good to say about their mama, their kids, their co-worker, and every time you around them, it's always something, but it's always me. Oh, they did this to me and that and this. And I'm like, oh, okay. And the next couple of weeks or months later, you talking to them and they regurgitating the same thing, just that negative thinking. I have had clients, especially older clients, and they're the most difficult ones to try to get them to see something in a different light. And so to do that is very challenging because in their mind, they're right. And because they have these big, strong feelings behind it, to justify how they think or about the person or situation based off an experience, it's hard to get them to change. Those are probably the most difficult people to help. Someone who's been bitter for more than half of their life, and if they it takes a lot to get them to change and to heal. But every time you're around, they don't have nothing good to say about anybody, anything, any situation. It's just negative, negative. And it's like, oh, we got to hear this again. We got to hear this again. That's somebody that's bitter, constantly replaying hurtful scenarios in their mind, freaking enter monologues about how you have been wrong. You find yourself doubting other people's motives or expecting the worst. Even though you probably had a good motive, they don't see that. They probably think, oh, they just did this because they wanted that, or they just did this because of that. Not just they did this because they genuinely cared. That's somebody that is bitter. Cutting remarks, becoming their default as far as their communication styles, like being sarcastic, them being sarcastic all the time. And so you around somebody that's always sarcastic, that's a sign of bitterness. Emotional numbness. Woo! We in the era now where I see this a lot. Bitterness sometimes present as empathy or numbness towards situations that should elicit strong emotions. I don't even care anymore. So when I say that this is the climate that we see on social media all the time these days, people that are just hard, people that are not caring about other people's well-being. Well, because of your experience and the bitterness that you have, you don't care about other people's well-being, meaning I don't care if they let me give an example. And we just use DEI. Everybody know me. I'm gonna bring it up. So most people are not well educated and they don't know. They thinking that DEI is for people who are of a certain group, certain race, getting jobs and position that they don't qualify for. And that's not it. DEI helps people who do qualify for jobs because they have the education and they have the training. But a lot of times, depending on whatever group they're from or whatever race, despite the education and training that they have, those are some of the things that will stop them from getting a job in a position that they're well trained for. And so when you hear people talking about, oh, DEI, and I think y'all need to go look up the word propaganda. They've been doing it for years. And what they can do is start a propaganda and making something that is not true a lie and start saying it. And if everybody's saying it so much all the time, then people think that it's the truth. Well, for people who like, oh, well, they didn't need a job and we just give it to them because of this and that, and they didn't care about their livelihoods, people who has been recently let go and then lost their jobs and they have family and kids to think about, and you like, oh, I don't care. They shouldn't be here anyway, and this, that, and the third and stuff. And they have no empathy, nothing. And what fills them to think, hey, yeah, let's do it. Let's do this. Let's do this. It's because they bitter. They have no empathy for anyone because of all the hurt that they experience, and they never healed from it. And they allow it to cause them to be bitter. That's just an example of them not having no empathy anymore and not caring about anyone or anything. So they taking all that energy and all that anger and stuff, and it's geared towards something that they think that's going to make their life better when it's actually not. Difficulty celebrating others' success. I'm going to say that again. Difficulty celebrating other people's success. They bitter. So they feel in envy or resentment when good things happen to people around you, especially if you think they haven't earned it. Like, don't let it be the person that you felt that hurt you How do they get to have this success? And here I'm still over here and nothing good happened to me. Because with bitterness, it's tied to unforgiveness. And y'all, this is what unforgiveness looks like. It's me drinking the poison and expecting the other person to die. And so you can't celebrate them because at one point in your life, they did some things to hurt you. They did some things that was very, very bad towards you. And because you have not let it go and you let it set up and fester in you bitterness, their success you're not happy about. They're not getting a congratulations. They ain't getting, I'm proud of you or none of that. You mad because it's like, how dare they get to be successful after what they did to me? Nuh-uh, because baby girl, baby boy, let me tell you, they didn't move around. They didn't move on. What y'all don't understand, forgiveness is a one-way street. The other person does not need to be alive and the other person does not have to be present. That means I can forgive you without you even knowing that is possible, you guys. That's the way it looks like. And some people think that forgiveness means that I can forgive you and we gonna reconcile the relationship. Sometimes that's not a good thing. I can forgive you. You probably ain't changed how you are and what you did. I don't have to reconcile the relationship, but no longer am I'm going to let that control me anymore. I'm not going to let you control me. So all these people that are bitter, what they don't understand is that the person that hurt them, the person that caused the bitterness is controlling their whole life. Because everything that you do and don't do was based off what they did or didn't do for you. They got all that control. And some of them people are dead and they controlling you from the grave. Okay, let me get back on task. I'm sorry. Gotta look good. Went off the rabbit trail for a minute. Isolation and withdrawing, pulling away from social interaction or relationships because you feel misunderstood and consistently triggered. That's real bad, you guys. You're isolating yourself and then you don't interact at all. No socialization, no friends or not a lot of friends at all. You know, nobody really want to be around you anyway, but you isolate yourself because you're thinking one way. Your way is right and how things should be because you're so protective. And so if you do go out and socialize and someone did something you trigger back to that moment when somebody else hurted you. And so you relive that all again. But what happens now that you add another person to your collection of unforgiveness and it also increase your bitterness. It's kind of like it gives you the receipt for you to continue to be bitter. Because everybody like that, oh, he did the same thing, she did the same thing. And that's not necessarily the case. Why bitterness persists? Reinforcing narratives. So telling ourselves and others the same hurtful story over and over again can keep bitterness alive. So I just shared a long story with y'all about being bitter for 4 years and what situation that caused that. Y'all know it don't even bother me no more. I have no negative emotions, no trigger for none of that at all. Very thankful for the experience though. I've learned a lot from that. But anytime that you just retelling the story and there's not a change, that's not good. We become attached to the identity of the wrong one, which can feel oddly comfortable or justified. So in other words, bitter people identify themselves with the situation that has happened. Don't you know people have carried that for so long that it becomes a part of who they are? And for them to let that go is scary because it causes a sense of emptiness within them. And it's like, I've been having this. This is who I am. This is a part of me. If I let this go, what happens? Because when you become bitter, it's the day you stop breathing. Really, the day you stop living. You a dead man walking. You don't know who you are. You have no identity because you've identified yourself with the bitter situations, the hurtful situations. So that's who you are. And so to let that go is scary because it's like, what am I going to do? I've been holding on to this to my whole life. What am I going to do? Well, it's like doing CPR when you let it go. Life has been restored back into you. Now you got to find who you are. You got to find your real identity. And then you got to find purpose. And I tell people this all the time, especially I specialize in trauma. So when I get new clients, this is my saying, like, hey, life gave us lemons. You can either suck on them and let you be bitter, or you can squeeze those lemons and make some lemonade, put whatever flavor you want in there and make it as sweet as you want and go serve it up. What are we going to do? And when I tell them, I say, you see me, this is what I did with those lemons. I made lemonade and now I'm serving it up. I made it as sweet as I wanted to be. So you can stay bitter and suck on them, or you can make some lemonade and go serve others. The late Apostle Lathan Archie from Muskogee, Oklahoma, Faith Deliverance Christian Center. He'll be gone 10 years in April. But one thing that he always said, he said that it's purpose in pain. You can find purpose in pain. It does not have to kill you. What is the purpose? What did we get out of this situation where we can go and help other people too? Avoidance of deeper pain. Bitterness can function as a protective shield against vulnerability or acknowledging deep hurts. So because people that's been hurt so deeply, and they feel a lot of people wrong them and they can't see beyond that, they become very protective. So that's why they isolate themselves. It becomes like this shield. So everybody is suspect. And it's like, how you do it, I don't know. That's a lot of energy. And it's a lot of, it keeps your anxiety very, very high. It's easier to stay angry than to feel the heartbreak or sorrow beneath the surface. So I've been doing this forever. It's easy for me to do that. For me to get up under the surface of this bitterness is scary because I know how to navigate this. I've been holding on and been bitter all these years. I know how to navigate it. I know how to move. I know what to expect. But for me to let that go and for me to heal and come on this side, that's scary. Because I don't know what to expect. I don't want to be hurt again. I know that. And I feel that if I be hurt again, then what's the use of me coming over here? It's safer for me to stay in something that's not unhealthy. And so that's why it's hard for some people to even not heal because of that. Lack of tools or support. Sometimes we just don't know how to process anger or cope with traumatic events in a healthy way. So without proper support, therapy, community, trusted friends, bitterness can become the default setting. The cost of staying bitter. Let's talk about it. Mental and emotional health. Chronic bitterness can lead to higher stress, anxiety, and depression. It robs you of your peace, your joy, and creating a cycle of negativity. It strains your relationships. Bitterness often spills over into how we treat our loved ones, our family, our friends. And after so long, people get tired of it and they're going to be like deuces. And you wonder why nobody's coming around, why people not calling. And that's just because they tired of it. It's kind of like, you have a plant. And we got this plant right here. Yeah, and it looks real. They did a real good job. But if this was a real plant, if half of this was dead, if you don't cut off the dead part, the whole plant's going to die. And that's what bitterness is. It's like if you don't cut that off, then all of you is going to die. So anybody attached to you. So what happens is that the people and things that attach to you start dying. And you're wondering why they're not coming around. Why do I got a dead friendship, dead family ship, dead, connecting with people at work? Because you're deadly. You're very, very poisonous. And so anything attached to you is going to die. Strained relationships, okay? It can erode trust and intimacy. It's a driving wedge between friends, partners, and family members. Physical health complication, lingering stress and resentment can contribute to issues like high blood pressure, sleep problems, and weakening immune functioning. I've seen people in my family, close family members, literally have all this ailments and this sickness, and none of it runs in the family. And it's just because of bitterness, and they don't even realize it. Bitterness, it kills your soul first, and then it physically kills you later. Missed opportunity. When we're locked in resentment, we often overlook potential growth, happiness, or positive connection that might be right in front of us. One of the things that I can say is that when I was in a space of bitterness, I could have been a manager or supervisor and had opportunities, but because of me being bitter, those doors never opened. Even when I applied, they never opened. And what they did, it just sent me deeper into being bitter again. But I thank God for healing. Healing from bitterness, acknowledging the bitterness. First and foremost, admit that you are bitter. Reflect on situations or relationships that trigger anger or resentment. Seek clarity on the core issue. Ask yourself, what am I really angry about? Look for unmet needs, underlying hurt, or repeated patterns in your life. And I want to say something about repeated patterns in your life. You guys have to understand this. When you become bitter, you have to also take responsibility for what you played in that too. It wasn't like, oh, I'm just the goody old shoes and everybody came and did all this to me. Oh, poor woe is me. No, what was your part in that? One of the things that I can say that was like a eye opener for me when I began to walk into my healing from being bitter. One of the things that I can remember was, who is responsible for my soul and for me knowing the word myself? I was. I didn't do my part. And that's what most of us do that are in part of the body of Christ. We'll listen to the pastor or whoever preaching and teaching, and we really don't study beyond that. We take their word as if it's Bible. But I had the responsibility of knowing it for myself. So what did I do? I dropped the ball. For whatever reason, I didn't apply. I didn't go study. I didn't go break that down, because had I did that, a lot of things that happened wouldn't have never happened. So making sure that you take responsibility for your part of any type of hurt that has happened, what part did you play in it? And just take that responsibility. You can't put it all on everybody. Practicing forgiveness for yourself and others. Forgiveness isn't about excusing harmful behavior, but it's about releasing the hold it has on you. And when we talk about not excusing the behavior, me forgiving does not excuse, or you forgiving does not excuse what anybody has done wrong to you. What it does, it releases that person from your life. You remember just a couple of minutes ago, I was talking about when you don't unforgive people, that they are controlling your whole life. So you got to forgive so they can release that. A lot of people won't forgive until they wrath is like satisfied. No, I want them to feel what I felt or even more. And until I feel that it's satisfied, then I'm not going to forgive. And that's one of the hardest persons to forgive to is yourself. So making sure that you're learning how to forgive. And you guys, you cannot just sit up there and say, okay, I'm going to do this. She said this and this and that, and I'm going to do this. You got to go get some help. You got to learn how to do that. That's why I'm going to encourage going to go get you a mental health therapist. Sometimes we also need to forgive ourselves for past mistakes that led to shame or self-blame. Open communication. If safe and possible, have an honest communication with the person who hurt you. Using I statements and being clear about how their actions affect you. even if they don't respond the way that you hope, expressing yourself can be liberating. And making sure that you do it in a healthy way. I wouldn't encourage this if you have not went through the process of healing. If you have not sat down and had a mental health therapist to help you with your healing and help you with this process. Because what happens is like, oh yeah, I'm going to go and have this conversation. And in your mind, you expecting to have this conversation. This person is not going to respond. They're going to listen to you and you're going to tell them how you felt, this, that, and the third. And what happens is that 9 times out of 10, they're going to match their energy. And it's not what you thought it was going to be, and it's just going to explode. And it's going to make the relationship or the situation even worse. That's why you should have a mental health therapist that can guide you along that and teach you what active listening is, teaching you what I statements are, and what assertive communication is. Cultivating empathy. Try to understand the other person's perspective without excusing their behavior can soften the bitterness. That's one of the things that I learned to do, especially in what I do. People don't come from the same backgrounds. Everybody has a different background. Everybody was raised different. I cannot say this enough. How you parent matters. It shapes who the child is. It shapes how the child sees themselves, others, in the world. And when you have not been parented well, and when you have not been loved well, when you have not been liked well, you don't love and like your own self well. So that means that you're not even treating your own self with love and care because you don't know how, because no one loved you well. And this is part of growing up. And so what happens is that you have this hole that needs to be filled, and you look for other people to do it, but you attract who you are. And if you don't love and like yourself well, then those are the type of people that you are attracted to you. And so making sure that you have to first learn how to love yourself and have empathy for yourself before you can even give it to anyone else. And if you was not given that growing up, you don't even have it to give to yourself. So you're going to have to learn how to do that. Go get a mental health therapist. They can help you. And I'm telling you, when you begin to love and like yourself well and in a healthy way, a lot of situations and people don't change, but the way that you see yourself and your outlook, it's what changes, and it changes you and puts you in a more positive light. A lot of people call this thing tough love, and they have an idea of what love may look like. If anybody confused, go read First Corinthians chapter 13. Read it up under the Message Bible, and it tells you what love looks like. Therapy and spiritual support. Counseling or therapy can help unpack deeper issues, feeling bitterness. Practicing, once again, journaling, mindfulness, or prayer, meditation can provide emotional release and clarity. Redirecting your energy. Invest in activities or communities that brings joy and align with your values. Focusing on personal growth like hobbies, education, creative pursuits. It also can diminish bitterness. Setting boundaries. That's going to be one I probably do real soon. Setting boundaries. If certain situations or relationships are consistently toxic, limiting your engagement to protect your well-being. Healthy boundaries can prevent new hurts, and it can diminish some of the bitterness that you have. And celebrate small wins. Acknowledge personal progress, no matter how small. Each step away from bitterness and towards openness is significant. So here's some things that we can do, some things that you can start doing, actions that you can take away from this podcast. Bitterness self-assessment. Spend a few minutes in journaling about where you feel anger or resentment. Identify those triggers, people, places, memories that leads you down a negative path. Do a 30-day empathy challenge. For the next month, commit to a short daily practice of empathy, reading about other experiences or doing a gratitude practice to shift your perspective. And a gratitude practice is just writing down all the things that you're grateful for, just grateful for being in good health, grateful for whatever healthy relationships that you have and connections, your job, and your ability to make sure that your bills is paid, grateful that you're even able to eat, just doing a grateful log. I release exercise. Write down specific resentments on a separate sheet of paper. And this resentments or feelings towards anybody. It could be your boss, it could be your mom, it can be your friend, writing that down and then burning it or tearing it up as a symbol of letting it go. Therapy or support groups. Look into local therapists who specialize in anger management or relationship issues. Support groups can also provide a community of people who understands what you're going through. Accountability partner. Find a friend or family member who can gently call you out when you slip into a bitter talk or negative thought spiral, when they see you slipping back. Because a lot of times, if you've been bitterness for more than half of your life, just been a bitter person, as you begin to heal and grow and come up out of that, remember, the brain always revert back to what it knows. So some things and situations, it can trigger you back, but making sure that you have that person that don't mind pulling your curtail. Like, no, we not doing this. You going back. And those are the type of people that you need. And just remember that becoming bitter is often an unconscious process. But healing from bitterness is something that you have to do intentionally. And working through that can lead through an emotional freedom, healthier relationship, and more hope outlook on life. So I just want to encourage you guys. Here's a book that you can read. Healing the Heart of Emotional Trauma. I think I said this one on the last podcast. Dr. Joy DeGuary is a great book. So I do encourage you guys to read that. That's all I have for you guys today. So once again, go and have a great day. Make sure that you go research any information that I gave you on this. You do not want to take my word. I want you to go and do your own research. If you have any questions, make sure that you put them in the comments. And I am going to do a podcast where I am going to answer your questions. And remember, in Tabitha Brown words, go and have a good day. But if you're not having a good day, don't you go mess up somebody else's day. Stay at home. And until then, I'll see you guys next week.